Thank you so much for watching my show. William Wallace for America. As you know, I'm always searching for and finding and looking for things that divide us, but more importantly, the things that we get over that hurdle with and find the things that unite us. And one of the things that I find very uniting is not only cell phone service, because you can look at it as a way to unite and be in touch with people, but my sponsor, Patriot Mobile, that I'm bringing on today, is talking about things that they're doing. But the president of the company, Glenn Story, is with me to talk about some things that he personally thinks that we need to do to be more united and fight for freedom in America. Glenn Story, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Well, William, thank you for having me. I always enjoy chatting with you about current events and what's going on. Even as you talked last time we met, I think that was at one of the gun shows, and you had just shot your gun a few times that day or
I,
earlier that weekend.
it was. You're absolutely right. I had just gotten carjacked,
Yep.
and defend, and not say had to, but chose to, or had to rather, defend myself, and chose to defend my wife when the carjacker tried to kill her during the carjacking. Long story short, the reason we know that is because later when they caught him, we were the fifth victims of the night, and the police said he was trying to get away and he didn't want any witnesses. And so you're right, and that was just using something from the Bill of Rights of our Constitution, which I know Patriot Mobile supports. But what about you, Glenn?
We absolutely support the Second Amendment. I mean, that's one of our four pillars. We really love, just the basic of what we are. We're America's only Christian conservative cell phone company. We put God first in everything that we do. We base our business on biblical principles, and then, the backside of it. Not only are we 100% U.S. based customer service, we have international calling and international roaming plans, etc. But the reason folks come to us is our mission, and in particular, our mission is to glorify God and defend his rights and freedoms, the ones that he's given us or provided us. And how do we do that? We do that very easily. We carve out a portion of every dollar or every cell phone bill and donate back to one of four causes. That's the First Amendment, Second Amendment, right to life, and military and first responders. And look, we're a Christian company, 100%. We all are Christian. We have some folks of the Jewish faith and other faiths, but at the end of the day, we are Christian ourselves. We're not
Right.
pushing Christianity. We just share our Christianity and the joy that comes with it. There's a difference between happiness and joy. Look, happiness is a temporary thing. There's a beginning and end. Joy is permanent, and that's through the grace of God, right?
Right.
Jesus Christ gave us grace. But we don't push that. We want you, whether you're Sikh, Muslim, it doesn't matter. We want you have the freedom to worship freely,
And
right?
even if they don't believe, even if somebody doesn't believe in the values of Patriot Mobile or the things that you all believe in, they can rest assured that because you all are a good-hearted company, that you're going to do the right things in business, and that that their money is not going to go to other causes that might violate a principle. Is that correct?
Well, that's 100% right. And Ethan is sitting in the control room right now. I can't see him, but I know he's there.
I
But
can't see him either.
yeah, where are you? So anyway, one of the many things that we do, life is important, right? It's God given. It is created. And I've seen videos lately when the sperm unites with the egg, there's this burst of light that comes off of it, some form of energy. Well, the only reason that I'm bringing that up is you really think about who Patriot Mobile is. We believe in life. That doesn't just mean life in the womb all the way to the grave. It also means we want to support life. And my point being is Ruben, one of our jack of all trades, and Ethan took a 26-foot trailer out to Georgia. And you know what? It was full of generators, baby formula, diapers, and we met up with the sheriffs in the counties that were most hit. That's east of 75, and there were so many godly experiences. I wish I could bring Ruben in. This dude's a strong dude, a professional soccer player. I think he was brought to tears on a couple of occasions where, they missed a turn or something. They went another way and they ended up pulling off the side of the road, and they met this older woman that was giving out food and stuff. And she goes, I was just praying for diapers and formula, and here you show up with diapers and formula. I don't believe in coincidence at all. I believe
Right.
that it's divine intervention or providence, right? And these guys drove all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all around Florida. I mean, all around, Eastern Georgia. I wish I'd remember the names of the communities, but dude, that's what we're about. It is about helping others, really the hands and feet of Jesus. Now we call it our pillars, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, right to life, military, and first responders, but it's really just being God's children.
So let me ask you this: what comes to mind when you started Patriot Mobile? Did you start it because you wanted to have another way to vent your Christianity, so to speak, or another way to practice Christianity? Or did you say, look, I want to have a business, but I know that I cannot do things without putting God first or putting my values first. So and part of my values are not only pro-life and Christianity, but they're also Constitution, they're also the military. And you felt like, hey, if I start a company and I intertwine these values in that company, that's what will make my company successful. Which one was first, the chicken or the egg?
To be blunt, it was neither. I mean, I got to tell you, when we started, this was purely political in nature, meaning, we were going to we were going to name it Ted Cruz Mobile or something like that, or Red Mobile. And, what we decided against that, we ended up, it's kind of interesting. The name of the company to begin with was EOS Mobile. It was the goddess of the new beginning, the Greek goddess of the new beginning. And it was such an interesting name, the new beginning. I really get it. And I thought it was good. But, you go out and try to raise capital to build a cell phone company. Not a serious person on the planet would invest in that. So we rebranded to Patriot Mobile. And it wasn't, until about 4 or 5 years ago that we went from this political leaning aspect of trying to acquire customers in a political business or political aspect of life. But it really boiled down to, one of my chair or board members came in. He said, Glenn, you are really being stupid. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you are living a Christian life. You believe in God, yet you don't tell anybody. And, our tagline back then was Patriot Mobile, mobilizing conservatives. And yeah, what a great name, right? Well, it wasn't good enough. So I remember, I'm not creative at all. I leaned back in my chair. I looked out the window. He came in, kicked me in the midsection and left. 5 minutes. That's it. He left, and I was sitting there, and I thought, you know what? Why don't we rebrand? Let's call this Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative cell phone company. Now, what's interesting about that, William, is our growth had been about like this, let's say 30 or 40%. When we rebranded in 2019, 2020, our growth went like this because we put God first and we made it our initiative. We changed executive management teams. We brought in folks that are devout believers, and we were mission oriented. And all of a sudden, when you put God into your business, this thing just blew up. I mean, we're up 10x since then. And it's just all his blessings. So what we want to do is turn around and carve out a portion of our proceeds and donate back, not proceeds, but our earnings, and donate back to these causes. And, this year we'll probably donate north of 2.25, maybe $2.5 million.
That is absolutely amazing. I got to tell you something. When you hear a story like that you're giving back to the community, you're actually, Christians would call it tithing. However, that I think that's, important, but I also think that giving back to the community is important. And to find that you're doing that, giving back to the community, it's your way of being able, as I've always told people, the best way to fix our country and our state is to start right in our own communities. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're practicing what you preach. You're tying it to business, and you're bringing in good values into your business. No wonder your business is so much better. But are you hopeful for this? Now let's separate business, to a little bit more of your personal beliefs. A lot of people, are concerned about this next election, and I'd like to just kind of maybe talk about that a little bit if we can, from you on a personal level. No, not reflective of Patriot Mobile, but do you believe that the policies of our nation during the previous administration were more favorable for prosperity?
I think not. I mean, I just look at, I grew up as a son of a military man. He was a World War II veteran, and I grew up in that generation. I had much older brothers and sisters. And what's interesting about that is I grew up, with the exception of the 70s, right? When we had the oil crisis and that Iranian
Mhm.
hostage crisis, et
Right.
cetera. I grew up really in the middle of that just incredible growth and prosperity. And with the exception of a couple of times a year, yeah, we had the long-term credit crisis back in late 90s, and we had a couple of the dot-com burst. But overall, the economic growth of this country, we were the engine. We led other countries. And I think today there's a real push, of a one world order. And while I agree that we need to help out other countries, we need to look in our own house first. We need to really protect our country. And I do mean this sincerely. I love the concept of immigration. I mean, all of us are immigrants at one point in time. We came here to build a better life and build a better country, starting with the Mayflower, and even before that. But at the end of the day, just to have porous borders and people coming here for, not a better life, but I think there's some people coming here to harm us. And quite frankly, I think it's terrible. I really do. And so the answer to your question, I think the last 4 years have been awful. And if you think about it, how many in the last four presidents of our country, we've only had one real conservative.
That's right.
So,
We look at where we are now as a country and realize that, like you said, over the last 20 years, only 4 years have been with a Republican president. So, with that in mind, when you put your values first on a personal level, and your values on a personal level align with Patriot Mobile's, like you said, you like that concept of immigration, but legal immigration done in a way that benefits our country and not allowing people to come here to harm us, or
yeah,
even change some of those pillars of putting our military first and putting our constitution first. And so I,
yeah.
I agree with you 100% on that. But Glenn, we have our values, they've got their agenda, and we understand, like you talk about the new world order concept of what people are trying to get across. But we're always having to find ourselves on a daily basis dodging the media attacks and the narratives and the distractions that don't solve any problems, and they don't fix anything. They just distract us from what I believe our own values, and distract us from those same pillars that you put your faith and your foundation on. Do you think the media has tried to beat us all down on both sides of the aisle to be able to steer this election in a direction, or to steal it?
I'm not going to say steal, but I do believe the media is tainted on both sides, but especially it's slanted on the left. I mean, seriously, let's just go investigate the qualities of each person running for vice president in an actual evaluation of fact, right?
Right.
They don't care. There's no real journalist. What happened to the Tom Brokaws, the Dan Rathers of the
That's right.
80s and 70s? Those guys are gone. And they're so tainted and warped. Everybody's so anti-Trump. And, look, I support Trump personally. Our business doesn't. We don't get into that. But personally, I look at the 4 years he was in office, the economic growth, low interest rates, and the immigration was under control. You look at all these factors. Black unemployment was incredible, or there were no wars.
Way
You
down.
know,
Right. There's no wars, right?
yeah, you just look at that and you say, we were in much better shape. Let's forget about the person. He's not my savior. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. Donald Trump happens to be a person that's going to help us take our country back. If we stay under the Harris Biden administration, which I have some interesting stories that I can't tell. I had lunch with Speaker Mike Johnson the other day, who was under tremendous pressure trying to manage the middle, right? And it's really difficult. Most people don't understand what's going on, but he gets to see all the facts, and he manages his life through his biblical beliefs. And that's more important to me than what everybody else sees, right? And so with that said, our country is under attack, no question about it. And I believe that we're in the middle of some giant issues that have just not been talked about.
And what I think you've done a great job at telling us and explaining to us is that you've separated yourself on a personal level from your business in such a way that, you're saying, look, while your support might be one direction, ultimately you just want the right thing for our country based on
Amen.
values
Amen.
and truths, and not the media and not the narratives that divide us all up on either side of the fence, which basically makes nobody have the opportunity to have prosperity in our country. But what news stories do you think have not been given enough attention that you think would make a difference in this election to get to those values? The one that I noticed the other day, for instance, is that North Korea North Korea is sending troops to the Ukraine to help Russia in the Ukrainian war. So that to me is a sign of World War III, but you don't have anybody talking about that in the media right now. Are there any news stories that you think should have more attention?
Yeah, you know what? I honestly, I don't watch the news. I just, I speak with a lot of folks that are in the know. I mean, we had dinner the other
Right.
night with Ted Cruz. I mean, lunch on Monday or Tuesday with Senator Lee. Speaker of the House, and which is really interesting. And you hear what's truly going on from these guys versus the sound bites. I just wish the media was free and fair. I mean, if it were just telling the truth like it should, as to becoming a vocal, a news media outlet today is just sharing propaganda. It's all
Maybe
anti-Trump.
maybe if the media is for narrative, or maybe the media's four pillars or pillars of their business were the same as Patriot Mobile's,
Yeah.
they might be being more honest. Is that a way to put it?
Well, I would hope so. There's just no way that.
What candidate in Texas do you think has not had fair media?
I'd say right away, Ted Cruz. Everybody paints him as Lion Ted and all this nonsense. Well, at the end of the day, that dude is a warrior. Is he perfect? No. Did he go during the deep freeze a number of years ago down to Cancun? Yes, he came right back, but it was a scheduled trip. But most people say, look, this is who Ted is. Well, most people don't know him. He's a warrior. He believes in the values of this country. He believes in this country. And, he fights for our freedom. And, he doesn't do anything at the border. You just hear all this nonsense from Colin Aldred. It's really repulsive, quite frankly. And again, this is my personal belief, not our corporate belief.
Well, I absolutely love what I'm hearing there from you, because like you said, you're shining the light on the good things that people are doing, but also back to those values of Patriot Mobile that you also align with on a personal level. Christians are the largest voting bloc that does not vote. I don't know if you knew that
Amen.
or not, that
Yeah,
statistic.
sure.
Do you have any suggestions on what we can do in this final week to get Christians out? I mean, those
No,
same
I don't.
Christians might be.
I don't. I really don't have a clue as how to get people out. If they're not motivated today, they'll never be motivated. And if I would only tell a Christian, and I say it, vote with your biblical values. Look at the ledger on both sides and say which aligns. Get rid of the picture, get rid of the person's name. Who are you going to believe? Somebody that believes in life or abortion at 40 months? Who are you going to believe? I want to have immigration, but I want it controlled under the laws of the country. I want open borders. You want prosperity, lower interest rates,
Right.
economic growth. Let's harvest the oil that's under the ground in Alaska. There's so much of it. Let's lock up the borders. I mean, let's lock up any drilling in the national parks. Come on. You look at this battery, dude, don't get me started. But at the end of the day, you think about what it takes to make a lithium battery. Now, I'm not an engineer. I am not a scientist. I have really no proof of this. I've
Right.
just done a little bit of research and looked at how these lithium mines and these mines to make these car
Mhm.
batteries, it's so bad for the environment. Yet the guys over here on the green side, and I would say this side, I mean, I'm all in favor of
Yep.
electricity or power, nuclear power, but to build these batteries, and it's generally, let's say, not child labor, but the poor folks making dollars a day, it's repulsive to
It
think
really
that these
is.
big batteries. Look, I've got an electric motorcycle, a motocross bike. I can go charge it up, ride this thing. I also have combustion engine motorcycles that we ride. There's really no comparison in a combustion engine to an electric engine. One
And
day they'll be equally as strong and we can produce a battery this big, it'll last a year. But right now, these batteries are the size of this room.
it goes back to the narratives. When the narratives and the ideologies get involved in issues, in this case, like the Green New Energy Deal or the batteries and the electric grid, they take capitalism out of the capitalism gets cut
Amen.
out of the equation.
Yeah.
Government gets involved, and then you get things being produced just to be able to satisfy a narrative instead of letting capitalism do it. I think if capitalism was let go and able to run free on, even when it comes to green energy aspect of our economy, we would have safer manufacturing of the lithium. We would have more production and safer, to where people would be able to, it would be able to build naturally opposed to ideologically. Is that a fair
Amen.
way to say it?
Oh, no question. I believe
Couple
in
more questions.
capitalism.
I know I've got some limited time with you, and I want to get a couple more questions just in case our time runs out. Before our time runs out, where do you think we're losing
It's
freedom
already
in
over,
America?
dude.
Two more questions. Where are we losing
Yeah.
freedom in America?
Say that again.
Where are we losing freedom in America?
Really everywhere we look. I mean, you think about it, everything's under control. This digital currency scares me to death. I like cheeseburgers. Well, you've had too many cheeseburgers. They're going to take you can't buy from this place. So you know, currency, just like everywhere you look, we put a mask over our face for a year. We went to church, churches were closed, bars, bars were open, liquor stores. You think, okay, come on. If I can't go to church, but I can go to the liquor store or a topless bar, makes no sense, right? So that's a loss of freedom. Or you've got to have a jab to live, or you got
But
to have a jab to fly. Those are freedoms, right? That look, the irony here is my body, my choice, but you got to get a jab. Come on. Doesn't make sense. There is no reality to that.
and Patriot Mobile is working on protecting those freedoms in a lot of way, are they not?
Yep. You bet.
I love it. Well, one more question for you. I believe that I've studied Tytler's cycle of civilization. Tytler's the last name, Tytler, and he believes that the cycle of a nation is about 200 years. So we're over that right now, and some would say that that based on where we are now, that we're in the apathetic or the complacency stage of his cycle. But where do you think that we are on that cycle?
I would say anywhere but complacency. I would say the folks that we run into that you see, you know, I think people are very passionate to save this country. I mean, you look out here, you see American flags everywhere. You see Jesus being broadcast, I mean, talked about everywhere. Even our president, former president, or President Trump is talking about, yeah, Jesus is Lord. And when you see that, but look, go back to Ohio State. Now, the story I heard was a guy in a cab met another dude, and the guy told him about Christ. Then this guy goes into campus, starts talking about Christ. The next thing you see is a revival at the Ohio State University. That's not complacency, dude. People see it. God is moving, and I truly believe that Jesus Christ and God, that He is in control of our destiny. He knows where we are. He knows our hearts, and at the end of the day, we know the end of the story. As a Christian, we know it. And
So
whatever
some
happens here is going to happen, but we know if he's involved, who can lose?
So, Glenn, that was not only very well said, but that's very optimistic, and I absolutely love it because you've reminded us that in Tytler's cycle of a nation, that what happens after apathy and dependence is bondage, but after bondage is spiritual faith, courage, and more liberty and more abundance. So what it sounds like to me is that while some would say that we're at the apathetic and dependence part of the cycle, that we've actually been through the worst. And from what you're saying is if we keep God in our hearts and keep him first, and we put our pillars to align with those of Patriot Mobile, that, and we use that spiritual faith, that we're up for more courage and more liberty in the years to come. Is that correct?
I truly believe that. I really do believe that. And we talked about it earlier, happiness and joy. Joy is permanent. It's in the heart. And I do believe we're in a spiritual revival. I mean, I see it everywhere I go. People are talking about their faith. They really are. What happened out in the University of North Carolina? Big spiritual revival. You're starting to see that everywhere. Why? Because I think I think we're at the end of bondage. I really do. I think we're so past complacency. That might have been early 2000s, right? I just see this spiritual movement that's going to move everyone, not just believers, but others. And hey, biblically, every knee will bow and and honor Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Every
I love
knee.
it, Glenn.
That
I love
will
it.
happen.
Well, Glenn, any final words before we close out?
Hey, yeah, let's talk about Patriot for 30 seconds.
I would
I
love
think
to. Absolutely, I'd love to.
everybody here's your shows, and I think you're a Patriot Mobile customer. I know you
I
know
sure
about us.
am. I sure.
I would just
I
say
sure am.
everybody here that listens to your show should be a Patriot Mobile customer. And I have mine here set up, right? It's kind of interesting that look, everybody has a cell phone. Everybody uses their cell phone to surf the internet, to run their businesses, to answer emails, and to just have fun, text friends and share memes, etc. Everybody has one. I would encourage everybody to call 972 Patriot, and your promo code is William or Wallace.
WWFA.
Yeah, that's right.
WWFA.
WWFA. Call and use his promo code. But most importantly, you're going to be supporting a company that aligns with your values. And believe it or not, it's so important to be involved with companies that align with your values. I will never say anything poor about the carriers. They're great partners. They have a good product. I think we're better. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, we're 100% US customer service based. That means when you call into our 972 number, you get a redneck in East Texas or here in Grapevine, Texas, or you get a Californian out in Lancaster, California. They'll sell you whatever you want. We have B2B as well, business to business lines, and we have MiFi devices. We have home connectivity. And really, one of the most important things is we can put two numbers on your phone. You have multiple carriers on one phone. You can have a business line, a personal line, all on one device. And here's the real kicker is we can put one network on one number, another network on another number. And here's the great thing, you're covered, right? And it picks, if you run your both of your lines, the cell phone picks the strongest data coverage. So it says, okay, we got 5 bars over here and 3 bars here. Let me run you on the 5-bar side. So I just love it. I think everybody on your broadcast needs to be a part of Patriot Mobile, and most importantly, tell them that you met the founder, and let them know that you want a founder's discount as well. And William, I just love you. You know, you do great work, and I do want to come back and visit you, and I want to go back to the restaurant. I think it was called Big O's or something.
R&O's restaurant. That's
okay,
right.
Big O, Arno, we got it. It's somewhere down the line.
I have to take you to another one called Signet Landing. They're another good one that I haven't. That was to take you to the next time you came in, also, because not only do they have great food, they've got, you can have dinner on the bayou, and you watch the fishing boats coming in with all the fresh seafood, and you can take an alligator tour before or after at the same time. You know, it's another great place. But real quick, I want to tell you something, a story. Okay, in the last 6 months to a year since I've been using Patriot Mobile, and I got my wife to use it, there have been a lot of time. There was a time period when she didn't have Patriot Mobile yet. She was scared to, and she didn't. And we would be someplace, and we would be side by side. We both had the same phone, and I would have service, and she wouldn't. And she'd say, "Well, how do you have service and I don't?" And I'd say, "Because I have Patriot Mobile." And the one thing I like is it can switch between different carriers because you all use all carrier lines. And I've had that scenario with many other people in the recently also, and I love comparing bills with them. And I find that Patriot Mobile is consistently very, very comparable in price and very, very competitive in price to get the same or oftentimes even better service than most of the other guys when you compare it side by side.
Yeah, and I've got to read this to you. I don't know. I think you know who Nick Vujicic is. He's the author of Life Without Limbs. He's one of our customers, or one of our partners, if you will. Anyway, he texted me back on August the 8th. He actually sent me an email, and he says, "Hey, FYI, I wanted you to know that our roaming was beautiful. Spain, Mexico, Israel, Japan, Greece, Serbia, all while on family vacation." So it's kind of interesting that, I didn't ask him to do that. He just sent it to me, and I just wanted to let you know service was beautiful. So
that's amazing.
You can go anywhere. My only recommendation before you leave, just call our customer service desk, or just connect in, or send a text or whatever, and just say, "Hey, I'm going to be traveling, flip this on." Or if you are, when you buy in, just have it turned on automatically.
I absolutely I love hearing. I haven't traveled internationally lately, so I haven't had a chance to use it internationally, but I've traveled to a lot of places. Look, sometimes we're out in the bayous and you're out in the back roads where I go sometimes in Louisiana, and I'm still getting cell phone service. I gotta wonder. Yeah.
Amen.
I wonder why it's so good. Not wonder why it's so good. I know why it's so good, but I gotta wonder how does it know? But then again, it's Patriot Mobile.
Amen.
Glenn, hang on 1 second there for just a second before I let everybody else know to please share the interview with somebody that you think might need a better service, might want to hear about values, might want to hear what's going on in our country. Either way, they all go back to not only Patriot Mobile with the Glenn story, and it's oftentimes great to know who the founder of a company is, because then you know the heart of an organization. And while they might be able to separate their values from the business mission, oftentimes it tells you a lot about the foundation of the company. I think that when you watch this interview and share it with somebody else, you're not only going to see that, but you're going to be able to be doing a great favor and service to a friend that needs better cell phone service, have some great coverage, have some great rates, and do them a favor too. And also do our country a favor, because the pillars of this country put our country first. Thank you so much, Glenn. I'll talk to you shortly, okay?
All right. Love it.
Have a great day.
Blessed day.
You too.
See you, William.